Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
It's you and the senorita woofer blowing up the tweeter cause it's me up in the speaker. Back in the mama seat, top down like a player, and the sound up in your ears, it is the dopest rhyme say running game like a cheater on ball.
So I don't know if we actually aired this. But a few weeks back when we interviewed Stone Temple Pilots, we were talking a little bit, and Stone Temple Pilots are looking for a new lead singer. And the DeLeo brothers said something that I kind of clutched to my heart, which was they're looking for a new lead singer. They're keeping things on the DL. And they talked to the lead singer of a band who shall remain nameless, because I can't remember if we put this on the air or not. But they talked to the lead singer of a new up-and-coming band who shall remain nameless. And they're like, hey, would you maybe be interested in singing with Stone Temple Pilots? But the DeLeo brothers said, we asked him man to man to keep this to himself, man to man. And then all of a sudden, we read about it in the press. So that shows you what kind of man he is. I was like, oh, burn. But that's something that really stuck in my head. Man to man. What is the measure of a man? I would say it's his word, his bond, his honesty. Does he keep his promises? Does he keep his pledges? I think that's how you can gauge the measure of a man. It's a very, very quick way of summing up someone's integrity or lack thereof. Is their word good? If you say man to man, can we agree on this? And they say yes, and then turn around and do something different, it really says something about the type of man they are or are not, some might say. Integrity is important. Integrity is infinitely important when you're asking to be leader of the free world. CNN hosted another Republican town hall in Milwaukee last night. The final three candidates, Trump, Cruz, John Kasich, all took the stage separately. Back when Trump first started his campaign, he pledged that he would support any Republican candidate who got the nomination. But last night, he revoked that promise. Let's have a listen.
Do you continue to pledge whoever the Republican nominee is?
No, I don't anymore. Look,
you don't?
No, we'll see who it is.
You won't promise to support the Republican nominee?
And he was essentially saying the same thing. Let me just tell you, I don't need their support. Now, maybe it'll be a negative, maybe it won't.
So the pledge you took is null and void. The idea of supporting whoever the Republican nominee is, you say you will no longer guarantee that you will support the Republican nominee. I have been treated very unfairly. Look, I won the state of Missouri, right? No, I have. Cruz people. I've been treated very unfairly. I'll give you an example. Unfairly by who?
I think by basically the RNC, the Republican Party, the establishment. You have a guy like Mitt Romney who lost miserably, who did a terrible job. He ran a horrible, horrible campaign. The last month of that, I helped him. I raised him $1 million.
Do you think the RNC is plotting to take this away from you at the convention?
I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think you'd have a lot of very upset people if that happened.
So apparently you can revoke promises, pledges, things of that nature. Now, look, obviously we shine the light here on Donald Trump. But if you were asking me...
I disavow, okay?
If you were asking me, this is indicative of politics probably all over the world, but especially in America right now, where people are willing to say and do whatever it takes to cater to a crowd of lever pullers for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Whatever it takes to keep them happy and on your side in the moment is what you say. Principles, foundation, knowing where your moral compass's true north is and not compromising that, who needs it? What we need is votes. And look, I think that you could play this game and call out hypocrisy, lies, flip-flopping with any candidate on either side of the political fence, especially in this election. But to actually stand in front of people and say that you revoke a pledge. I revoke a pledge. I'm revoking a promise that I made just, a couple months ago. I'd take some stones. And if this is what happens during the election process, I shudder to think what happens when we have a new president of these United States of America and leader of the free world, if they're the type of person that thinks they can just go ahead and revoke a pledge. Around here, you don't hear that. My word is my bond. And I promise you that the hilarious comedian Josh Accardo will see us through the remainder of the show and bring the ha-has and the hee-hees like you wouldn't believe. Thank you for hanging out.
Let's start the show.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
Yeah, do what I want, when I want, how I want. Every day you're going and working, running that rat race at that pace in that place will leave a bad taste for anyone, everyone working day after day. So buddy, I gotta say, there's gotta be a better way. Yeah, and you do what they told ya. Company man, feel it, a mindless little soldier. How can you live like that and maintain your composure before it's begun? Your life's already freaking over. Yeah, I do what I want, when I want.
So do yourself a favor now, head over to the interwebs, follow the hilarious comic Josh Accardo, at Josh Accardo on Twitter. He is our guest on the show today. And like all comics that we have on the show, I'm going over your bio and being like, oh my freaking gosh. Like every single one of you that is a professional funny person does like 8 bazillion things to I don't know if you have to or if you want to, but there's so much that you do. You're in demand. You're at all the top clubs in New York City where you call home at the moment. You play Caroline's on Broadway on a regular basis. I used to pass that place every single day and think, oh, that's hallowed ground. Gotham Comedy Club, Stand Up New York, Hollywood Comedy Store. You've got a web series called Dating on Set, which is, well, I'll let you explain the premise, but it's hilarious. And you've been on Sirius XM. You've been a guest on the Artie Lang Show. So much. But let me ask you, wait. Well, there's 2 very important things. One, out of all these things that you do, is the be-all, end-all stand-up comedy. And 2, what was it like to open up for Mariah Carey? Because you did that.
That's the most amazing intro I think I've ever received. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be talking. You put it in such a light. Like, you do so much. And in reality, it's like nothing is hit yet, bro. This is what I keep doing. Nothing's huge enough yet. First thing, opening for Mariah Carey. I did it at the San Diego Open Air Theater. I don't know if it's called that anymore. But it's about a 5,000-seater. It's San Diego State.
I think it's Junior Seau now.
Oh, it is? Awesome.
Yeah.
Finally, they give it a name that's worthwhile. Junior Seau is my boy. But it was one of the worst gigs I've ever had in my entire life.
I just like hearing it. It's one of those things that you have to say yes to. Hey, do you want to open up for Mariah Carey?
Yeah.
Well, it's going to go horribly, but yes.
It's so great because I started at the La Jolla Comedy Store. I was probably about 2 years into my career, so very young, way too young to be doing a 5,000-seater. But some people at House of Blues who were throwing this concert said, hey, they said this verbatim, Mariah wants a white comic to open for her. And I said, well, I'm your guy. And they saw me, and they're like, would you like to do it? And it was for very little money. But at the time, to me, it was a lot of money because, I'm nobody.
Wait, so hold on. This came from Mariah Carey?
Well, no, I don't want
would like a white comic to open up for me. It's just like...
This came
I know
from...
Boys to Men are available, but
yeah,
let's have a local comedian, and they must be white.
I want a Perry Como to open for me. A nice young Perry Como. They were basically from House of Blues, they said. And they saw me. They were scouting, and they saw me, and they go, "Would you like to do this?" And I said, "This is it. This is what I'm going to break. This is my big break." So I get there, and it's essentially like their road manager talks to me, and he says, you can go anywhere you want with your backstage pass. Don't look at her for too long. And I was thinking, like,
wait, don't look at her for too long. Were you allowed to? Because I've heard people say, don't talk to them directly, and don't look them in the eyes. You can look at them, not in the eyes. Were you allowed to? Like, how deep did these stipulations get?
That's what's so great is I think that look in the eye thing had already been played out by Prince, so they just were trying to be more diplomatic about it and be like, hey, just don't stare for too long. And I thought, like, this rule's in place for a reason, and I was trying to think who was staring at her for so long where she was like, I gotta make a rule that no one's allowed to stare at me for very long.
Well, Mariah Carey is legitimately one of the biggest artists that ever has been or ever will be. So, like, I could imagine, a lot of people being sort of dumbstruck and just wind up staring, and it's got to be weird. You know?
No,
it's got to be.
I get it. Yeah. But it's still brutal. Like I said, and I'm eating it was so surreal because I'm sitting with the backup dancers eating souffles. They have like this room, and it's like these what's the French crepes? They're like making crepes back. It was just so now I'm supposed to go on stage. I'm supposed to do 20 minutes up front, cold, right? There's no one there to introduce me, so they hand me the mic. I introduce myself, so I'm like making my voice into this other kind of voice, like, ladies and gentlemen. Like I'm literally trying to not sound like me. They have this huge couch on stage. I don't know why she had this couch. It was like she was Gallagher. Like I thought she was going to smash a watermelon. And I'm behind this couch introducing myself, and before I can come out, the sound guy tackles me almost, and he's like, hey, we're not getting the feed in the booth. So he grabs a mic and he starts making these cricket sounds into it. And which is like always great for a comedian. And he hands me the mic back. I come out. The place is like, it's maybe now it wouldn't seem that uncomfortable to me because I'm further along in my career. But at the moment, it was like in the front row. It was like an outing for like a slow adult home. So 20 seats across the row were all, I could physically tell like, okay, these are people who have some mental issues. And right away I'm thrown. And I just start doing like fellatio jokes right out of the gate. And 8 minutes in, I bail. I'm supposed to do 20, right? And you're like, bye. And I was heartbroken. I was devastated. And I'm back there, like sitting in this chair, and I look out into the audience, and they've filled up beach balls and just thrown them in the audience. And it hit me. It was like I was a glorified beach ball. Like this wasn't my big break.
You opened for the beach balls. Well, I have some questions about what happened, specifically about the level of hotness or not that Mariah Carey possessed when you saw her in person. And we'll get to that next. Thank you so much for hanging out, Josh. Tonight it's all good in the 713. I live in 212, now live in 713. Well, here I am with the H-Town Jam. Came to the city with a master plan. H-Town is my home whenever I'm at home. I return to the land of the Astrodome. People who like ice by TV chutty treat you the same if you don't got money. No one hardly ever gonna.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. You do what we do. You do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. That's the way you do what we do. You do what we do. You do what we do. Well, it's a new one. Here I
Our guest on the show today is comedian Josh Accardo, and if you've listened to the show when we've had comics on in the past, you know that we have the highest of respect for stand-up comics. And had I been able to take a different path, I would have done something like stand-up comedy. I don't think I'm anywhere near funny enough to do something like that, but it's just the idea of being this person who wins or fails on their own merits. You're your own boss, you're your own business partner, you're your own everything. It's not even like being in a band. If things go horribly wrong, you can't turn around and blame it on the bass player. There's something incredibly pure about one person, a microphone, and their audience, and succeeding or failing on those merits, which is why it absolutely blows me away when we have people on this show that can go out and make a go of that sort of thing. And we're going to talk about what that's like with our guest, Josh Accardo, right after we get into this. You opened up for Mariah Carey, as we were talking about before. Was she or was she not hot in person?
This was like 8 or 9 years ago, and she was pretty hot. She was she's a lot smaller than you'd think, too, at the time.
Was she dating Nick Cannon.
No. It was right after. The funk has a great
very good Funkhauser.
Isn't that how you say his name?
I think that's how he says his name since he's a kid, right? Like that's how he introduces himself.
That's the only way I've heard it.
Sorry,
she's like
Funkhauser
5'3".
Karate Kid yourself.
Oh, okay, fine. Here, hold on a second. Thank you.
Miyagi Yokiono. Miyagi. Yes, sir. That's like my favorite.
See, because the reason I ask is because like everyone I know is like, oh, Mariah Carey's so hot, and I've never kind of seen it. I mean, there's certainly nothing wrong with her, like but like people are like, oh, she's so hot. I remember watching a Mariah Carey video back in the day. I think it was for that song Honey, and I'm sitting there with my friend, and we're watching a Mariah Carey video, and he's like, she's so hot. I was like, you think? What makes you think she's hot? He's like, she's all one color. Like her hair is the same color as her skin, is the same color as everything. I'm like, I've never really heard someone described as being attractive for being monochromatic. But if that's what floats your boat, okay. So the reason I ask was she hot or not is not because I'm some creepy lech. It's because this has been an ongoing debate in my life since I was in probably about the 8th grade. Is Mariah Carey hot or not? And you've seen her in person, and yes is the answer.
At the time, this is 8 years ago. I mean, she's an attractive woman. She's very tiny too, but she also has a great genetic structure. I mean, I believe she's mixed too. So she has like a really great curves, and she's small, and she has an amazing voice. So already she's kind of in. But I agree with you. But also at the same time, when she had that phase, or after Tommy Mottola, and she was doing that whole I'm gonna be in booty shorts on top of a lowrider. I'm okay with that. I support that.
Yeah.
You weren't in. AD was not in.
Well, no, I mean, like, don't mishear me. I wasn't saying she was not attractive. But people were like, she's the hottest thing ever. I was like, really? Ever? Like, and I really liked it when she broke up with Tommy Mottola, and she was like, you might not have realized this for the first portion of my career, but I am fantastic. Like, that was cool. I'm totally behind that. I thought it was great. But I just like people just like, they bow down to that level of beauty. And you know what? Same with Beyonce too. Like, people just like, oh my God, so hot. I'm like, okay.
Stop talking about my bait.
Well, who was yours? Who's like when you were like in 8th grade? Who was yours?
It was good.
Pamela Anderson, because you're like a rock dude.
No. I always the plasticky element was always like a huge.
Oh, you're a purist, like, AD. I'm learning a lot about you.
I'm a bit of a purist. I suppose like most kids that grew up in the '90s, I always enjoyed Drew Barrymore. I thought that was. I thought that was cool.
Funny girl. Look at you.
Quirky, funny girl with a massive rack.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And the thing that I liked, you know what Drew Barrymore alerted me to, and for those that have never seen the scene where she is in that Evel Knievel jumpsuit sorry, distracted thinking about stuff. What was that movie? In the Charlie's Angels movies, when she's in the Evel Knievel jumpsuit and like licks the steering wheel of the car. Yeah, save that one for the moment I saw it. But
I love your memory, how vivid that was. Like, you recalled that? Like, I recall scenes of Raging Bull. Let's like.
Well, I spent a lot of time single.
Movie.
I spent a lot of time single. I had to recall that scene at a moment's notice. For many times over the last decade or so. But here's the thing. The thing that I liked about Drew Barrymore was she was the first female to alert me to the fact that chicks have it easier when it comes to their looks. And I know there's a million females out there that would disagree with me on this, but Drew Barrymore has this thing where sometimes she was like super skinny and in shape, and other times she was just like, you know what? Soft. Donuts and ice cream sound like a good idea to me. And both sort of like body types had merits to it. And I think, and it was the first time I kind of became aware that females in various different forms have their own thing that makes them attractive. They could be ripped and toned, and you could be like, damn, that's really hot. Or they could be kind of sort of like
totally
voluptuous and soft.
Yeah.
And it's awesome either way. And I remember being insanely jealous because, no girl has ever gone to a guy and be like, it's really cool when you have that six pack, but I also like it when you have a beer gut and man boobs. That also is attractive to me for different reasons.
It's called making a lot of money, though, AD. Like, that is a great equalizer. That becomes our fat female body, the money. Like, if we get that money, we get away with a lot more.
You know, there was a Mariah Carey fashion trend. She couldn't fit into her jeans, and she had a stylist cut off the top of it because she couldn't close them anymore.
Oh,
do you
the
remember?
Heartbreaker video, yeah.
And she did that because she put on a couple pounds, and all of a sudden people were like, it's so hot. She's like, this thing that gives me muffin tops, let's do away with it. And she started an entire fashion.
So she's an
trend
innovator too.
She is an innovator. Yes, Mariah Carey is an innovator, and I'm glad to hear that you found her to be hot in person. Tell us a little bit about Dating on Set, this web series that you've got going on.
Yeah, so Dating on Set, I play on-set still photographer for an adult film company, and I basically hit on all the girls, which most of these guys do, from what I've been told from my research. And my best friend is a 45-year-old single white female that's worked in the industry for a long time that is the head of this production company, and the show focuses on us being not, I wouldn't say normal, but the most normal people on the set, trying to date the actors and the people that work in the industry, and basically all the problems that are real problems that come up. In one episode, my co-star, she falls for this guy who they call, the term is gay for pay, where basically he shoots gay scenes, but in his personal life, he's straight. And she falls.
I've heard about this phenomena. Like I think I saw somebody interviewed about it in some documentary somewhere, and I was like, "Gay for pay."
It's fascinating,
and we have to be very careful how we describe this, being on terrestrial radio. Sure. But like, there are guys that be like, "Well, I'm not gay, but you know, when we shoot gay porn and I get a paycheck for it, I can do what needs to be done." And I was just like, that sounds at least a little gay to me, because I don't know how you take yourself out of the situation enough to be like thinking about Drew Barrymore and Charlie's Angels.
Then John Barrymore.
Yeah. That wouldn't take, like, I would, no matter how much money you offered me, I don't think I would be able to perform in that situation. So right off the bat, that's a fascinating window into that world, but go on.
And that's kind of like what, in that episode, what my character basically essentially says throughout the episode, where there's just different moments where he's confused in a very innocent, childlike way, not like he's confused in a, like, ignorant, stagnant way. He's literally being like, hold on, I thought that guy was gay. And she's like, no, he's only gay for pay. And then the episode kind of kicks up from there, where he basically, not that he's confused, but he likes both ends. So she ends up losing him ultimately to a man. And it's just the funny interaction through that. It's very real and it's honest, but also it's supposed to be a comedy. So it has some ha-has and hee-hees, as you said at the top.
Yeah, that's very Seinfeldian in its premise. Where, did you ever see that one where Elaine was trying to turn a gay guy?
It's a great episode.
And ultimately she came to the conclusion that there's no way she could. She's like, he has access to that equipment 24 hours a day. There's no way I'm going to know how to work it better.
Exactly.
Like, it's just like, I'll never be able to deal with that. That's very, very interesting. Oh, wow. And where can people watch Dating on Set?
It's on YouTube right now. YouTube's been very good to us. It's youtube.com/dating on set. And we also do a ton of sketches that aren't necessarily directly related to the adult industry. The thing about it that's been difficult is that it's a sitcom. It's written like a sitcom. I'm the showrunner and I write and direct all the episodes. It's a TV show, essentially. It's not pornography. And I think that's confusing to people because there's a lot of big-name adult film stars that make cameos and actually play exaggerated versions of themselves. So that's been like the biggest obstacle selling the show now, is like, hey, if you actually watch the first season, you'll understand. Like, this has nothing to. This doesn't show anything. This isn't about the ridiculous. It's not like a porn parody. It's an actual show that focuses on the inner fabrics of this industry.
Yeah, no, I mean, the best I think comparison I could draw to it would probably be sort of like Larry Sanders, where it's sort of like it's a show within a show.
Exactly.
Almost. It's sort of like it's a break in the fourth wall thing, or like 30 Rock, where it's a behind the scenes look. Or
Larry
something
Sanders.
of
I'm glad
nature.
you brought that up, because we just lost Gary Shandling, who
I've
met a few times. A really, really big deal. Like that, for you to compare it, like to have like that analogy is huge for me right now. So yes, Larry Sanders is a good comparison. I think if I was ever to really like go like to the pitch, if you want to get really technical about it, it would probably be like Californication meets Episodes. If you know those shows, it's kind of like you said, it's a show within a show.
That's very interesting. You met Gary Shandling?
Because I'm a Comedy Store guy originally. I've just randomly bumped into him once or twice over the course of the last decade. Very, very nice guy, very honest and helpful. And it's rare because I think in this day and age for comedy, comedy's in a different place where it's not like it was in the 70s, 80s, and then the basically the oversaturation of the early 90s where comedy was everywhere, where there was moments where like guys like Dangerfield and guys like Gary Shanley would help out other comics and not only bring them on the road, but put them on TV shows, get their names out there. That doesn't occur as much anymore. Where you have people that mentor other comics and take them in, and to lose a guy like that in this industry, I mean, that's someone needs to pick up the slack. You know, he was just an amazing comic and also a good person to be around. And I don't claim to know the guy; I've met him like twice, but it does that ripple effect. You know.
Yeah, no, that's really nice that it's nice to hear that he treated you well because he was under no obligation to do that with anybody. You know,
of course, yeah.
When you're the elder statesman, when you've been around for a minute, when you've sort of like you don't have to kiss ass to get where you're going. You don't have to I think that's where you find sort of like in many ways the true measure of a person is they don't have a motive. They're not looking to get anything out of you, and the way they treat you in that situation really says a lot about a person. I think that's awesome that Gary did that. Roy Shelton on Twitter, going back to our brief discussion of Trump revoking his pledge to support whoever the Republican candidate is if it's not him, said, didn't they all revoke their pledge? Not defending Trump, just saying. And yeah, you're right, Roy Shelton. I think that is absolutely correct. I think it's not just limited to one candidate, like I said. It's something that runs throughout all of politics everywhere. And it just makes you go, oh, wow, we're about to vote in someone who is almost categorically guaranteed to be a hypocrite with almost no principles whatsoever, and it's scary stuff, but well pointed out. Hey, Funkhauser, how much time do we have at the moment? Because I figured we would do some news. All right, okay. So let me ask you this, Josh. All these things that you do, a lot of stand-up comics will say, do television, do radio, do all these things, but ultimately it really is about stand-up. Is that what it is for you? The end goal is all these things that you do, like the web series. Is it just ultimately to support there being more people in the room when you get up on stage and do your thing?
To a degree. I mean, I'm going to try to break this down in the simplest terms for the layman out there.
In 1 minute.
In 1 minute. Comedy is just like any business. It's a whore where if you're on TV, no matter what kind of TV I'm on, it's going to fill the room and people are going to want to book me more regardless. That being said, my end-all be-all is to do shows and tell stories like Dating on Set and then tour from whatever popularity I can gain from that. But it's kind of like a 50-50 with that. I really want to do shows like that where it tells a true story with laughs, and then I can go out and reach people in different cities and also supplement my income. Like that's ultimately the goal, to do both.
Yeah, very, very interesting. All right, we'll do the news with Funkhauser and Josh when we return. Thank you so much for hanging out. Tweet us all at Josh Accardo, at FunkFM, and at ADSXE.
Jamming on the one like Theo Huxtable. Days like this when I feel untouchable. I try and make up for all the wrongs I did by living my life like a Cosby kid. Jamming on the one like Theo and Stevie. I know it sounds crazy, but you gotta believe me. When I feel like I just can't make it through, I try to think, what would Cliff tell Theo to do?
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a party better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a party better than me.
Our guest on the show is stand-up comic Josh Accardo. You can do yourself a favor, check him out online at Josh Accardo is where you can follow him on Twitter, as well as, well, you should do yourself a favor again and check out his sketch comedy and his web sitcom Dating on Set, which is sort of, as we were saying, kind of like the Larry Sanders Show. backstage, behind the scenes of the adult entertainment industry, which is interesting because we get a little piece of that with Super Producers to the Stars, Barry Funkhauser, who has another job, not working on set. He at no point has been asked to fluff anyone or oil them so the light hits them just the right way.
Not yet.
But dare to dream. But Funkhauser has spent some time working with folks in the adult entertainment industry in a radio capacity. But Dating on Set is where you can catch the creative work of Josh Accardo on YouTube. Do yourself a favor, like I said, and look it up. Right now, though, let's take a look at the events of today in our segment, My Witness News. Funkhauser, how are you and what is going on in the world?
This is My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair and certainly not balanced. And now, Super Producer to the Stars, Barry Funkhauser.
It's too big. It's too big this morning.
It's really not something that has never been heard.
Too big.
In Funk and Josh's other line of work.
I'm talking about that intro. Okay,
you can't live up to that one, Funk. Is that what you're saying?
It's too big.
I disagree. I think we need things planted throughout the course of the show to make us sound like we're more impressive than we actually are.
Oh.
Well, no, we can stop downplaying ourselves. Yeah, you might have opened up for Mariah Carey. Danny Jolles, who was on the show the other day, has a story about opening up for Aaron Carter in front of 250 people at a college.
What's up, man? I'm Aaron Carter.
Both stories equally as entertaining. Both premises equally a bad idea, but it's still made for excellent stories for years. I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, if you have a really bad experience as a stand-up comic, chances are, even if it's a horrifically awful thing, you're going to be able to mine it for some sort of material, right?
Of course. I mean, that's the whole reason why people end up being stand-ups is terrible, terrible things that happen to them. They just accumulate and accumulate, and you're like, well, I better talk about it, or it's over for me.
Funkhauser, how are you, and what is going on in the world?
Doing good. Here's the news. Kansas had another disappointing showing in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know about you, but any chance of making any kind of cash whatsoever off of my, I know the sarcastic air quotes around this word, bracket has been long since dead. But like, I came in the other day and people were actively talking about how horrifically badly Kansas had done in the NCAA.
Once Michigan State was out, everyone's bracket was shot anyways. I had Kansas winning it all, so I'm equally depressed. My Sicilian betting ways just failed me again.
Sports.
Well, too bad, so sad. We are sorry, Kansas. All we can say is carry on, my wayward sons.
Nice.
Don't sweat it. This time next week, it'll all just seem like dust in the wind.
How many more songs can you do? Like that? That'd be interesting if you do their whole catalog.
That's pretty much it. Like, do Kansas have other songs? I'm not sure.
I think you've covered it.
Yeah.
No, I can't find any.
All the broad strokes, you got it, AD.
Go on.
The man credited as the inventor of modern soccer passed away at age 68.
For a guy who hates sports, Funk is really bringing him out today, isn't he?
Yeah. See?
When he's talking about somebody that invented sports dying, he's all about it. He was like, this team did bad and this guy died. Yes!
Sorry. Bad news.
I was surprised to hear he was only 68 years old. It's like soccer just seems like such an old school game that has been around since the dawn of time. That the godfather of modern soccer passed away at 68. He leaves behind a wife, 2 kids, and as hard as they try, very few American fans. Have you're a sports guy?
I am.
Do you have you gotten into the American soccer?
Absolutely,
scene?
Absolutely not. I find it to be not that it's not a sport that is to be watched. I mean, there's parts of it that are exciting. I don't like anything I can't use my hands. Maybe I'm just too American. I mean, I play football in college, so to me, American football is the greatest team sport, the most exciting. I'm very into it. So it's hard to get on board with soccer, even though people are far more rabid about football, soccer, than they are about American football. I mean, people think going to a Jets game is crazy or a Buffalo Bills game. Try going to a game in Spain where the whole tier of the stadium falls because people are jumping around so hard, like killing each other over. I mean, it's a very rabid sport. People get crazy about it.
I grew up in London, and like you laugh when you come to America and you see like, oh, football's such a thing. No, it's really not. Like FIFA, that whole worldwide organization, like their numbers for the World Cup absolutely dwarf anything like a Super Bowl.
Oh, totally. And they're more corrupt than the NFL. They're more corrupt than the NFL. It's unbelievable. People have no clue what's going on over there in the other part. Everywhere else loves soccer. Here, we don't get it.
Well, one station that we're on, Real Radio 104.1 in Orlando, they carry the Orlando City games, and Orlando City does really, really well. And there is one thing about soccer, growing up in England, and this is why, like, here's the thing.
Yeah, they're on this time slot Thursdays. Damn it.
Yeah, we get preempted by soccer, so we're officially less interesting in that thing than Anyways, but the thing about soccer is kind of, for me, the same thing about basketball, is that, like, I like football, kind of, sort of. Like, I grew up playing baseball and rugby. Those were my sports. But, like, the thing about soccer that American football does not have is it just never stops. Like, you stop when someone scores, and it's constant action. And literally with American football, it's just like, if you need a bathroom break, well, there's going to be like 20 between now and the end of the next quarter. It's fine. The action stops so often in football, and that's the one thing that, to me, is the appeal of soccer and hockey and basketball, is the fact that it is non-stop, edge of your seat
That
action.
was the best game ever. What was the score? 1-0. Wow.
Yeah. But a lot of close calls that made you go,
oh, ah. There's a lot of that. Oh, ah. Oh,
if only. Go on. What else, Funkhauser?
James Vanderbeek. Welcome to the baby girl.
Oh, James Vanderbeek of Dawson's Creek.
Didn't even know he was pregnant.
Baby girl. Yeah. He also welcomes an increasingly rare opportunity to be on the news.
Is he making a comeback?
Just for a minute.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is.
The Dumbing Up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So picture this. You're on a flight, and the unthinkable happens. The plane you're on is hijacked. Given the opportunity in this hijacking situation, where you see a point in the proceedings where you could engage the hijacker, do you take a selfie with them? Because one guy did. His plane was hijacked in Egypt. And we'll get into that story after we finish up what remains of the news with super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhauser and Josh Accardo. What else is going on in the world, Funk?
Oh, man, so many things. Melissa Etheridge admitted that she once considered Brad Pitt as a sperm donor for her kids.
Haven't we all?
Yeah.
Jennifer Aniston was like, samesies. Go on.
Naomi Watts says she can't decide whether or not she should get Botox.
Wouldn't it be great to have a life that's what you can think about?
I don't know if it would be great.
I mean, literally, like, there's nothing else going on in your head. Like, well, should I do this? Where it makes the news. The debate itself makes the news. Yeah. I'm actually sitting here talking about this. I took an Uber here to talk about Naomi Watts, whether or not she's going to get Botox.
Should Naomi Watts get Botox? You can read more about it in Predicaments That Do Not Affect Renee Zellweger Monthly. What the hell happened to her head? It's crazy. It's like she went out and got herself a new one. You know what's interesting, though? Because, like, people laugh at, like, oh, they get Botox. Oh, they get plastic surgery. They get nipped and tucked. They're such vacuous idiots. Like, you look at someone like, I don't know, any one of these people. I bring up Ryan Seacrest or Brad Pitt, the guy that we just talked about, who are, gosh only knows how old they are at this stage in the game, but they don't look it. And, you know that some work has gone on somewhere along the lines. And people make fun of him for it. But then I think to myself, if I'm Brad Pitt, if I make $20 million a movie, and I can continue making $20 million a movie for longer amounts of time if I go and get nipped and tucked and Botox or whatever the hell it is that he's got going on, I would find it almost fiscally irresponsible to not do that, because when you're making an amount of money that could effectively end world hunger, to walk away from it, like especially someone like him that, like, I'm not like a Brad Pitt fan or anything, but he does seem to do some worthwhile things with his celebrity and with the amount of money that he makes. He certainly seems to be an advocate for humanity in his own way. I'm not putting him up on a pedestal or anything. I'm not saying he does the right things, but he seems to try and do the right things with some of his earnings. And if you, like I said, if you get to the point where you can stimulate the economy, if you can end world hunger by making a movie and you need to go get nipped and tucked to go make that movie, would it be morally reprehensible of you not to do that? I've given this some thought. What do you guys think?
You think he has that much work, though? You think he really has? I mean, I just saw that movie he was in, the one that about the oh my God, I'm blanking, about the house crisis, basically what was that movie called?
I'm trying to think.
Barry.
I can't remember.
It was nominated for an Academy Award. Adam McKay directed it. The Big Short. He was in The Big Short, I believe.
Yeah.
With Christian Bale and all those guys. And he let his hair go gray for it. And I get that's a character decision for an actor, but also he looks relatively normal. Now, I'm not saying he hasn't. I'm not stepping on your theory. I agree with you. But yeah, I would say you're probably right. I mean, if you're generating dollars and you actually have some aspirations to do well with it, cut it all off. Nip it all up. Snip it all up. Whatever you got to do it.
It's interesting. I always wonder how anyone in Hollywood gets bad plastic surgery, because they really do. Like, I know news anchors in Houston, like in Houston, Texas, that, like, you look at their picture of them when they were like, 21, and you look at a picture of them now at 40, and you're just like, wow, you look better now, and you clearly bought yourself a new head at some stage in the proceedings, but you look fantastic. And it's like, how can a local news anchor in South Texas wind up with better plastic surgery than Tara Reid? It's beyond me. Like, I don't get it.
Don't they go on Yelp? Go on Yelp. Read the Yelp.
Yeah. And I would think that, it's just like, okay, who looks good? I'll go see them. I'll go see their doctor. It's very strange. I don't understand it. Like, I can never myself imagine. It's a big bonus of being in radio. It's just like you're not required to look good. I can never imagine going under the knife myself, and I look, the idea of any kind of surgery whatsoever, like, we're just going to knock you out and cut into you. No, I'm not going to do that if I don't have to do it, unless it's a life or death situation. I don't want that to happen.
You're a practical man, though, AD.
I'm a practical individual in that way. I'd rather not be knocked out and cut into, But the thing is, if you're going to do it, like, how hard can it be to find someone good at it? You just find someone that looks... Hey, we can't all afford Brad Pitt's plastic surgeon, but let me just watch local news in Houston, Texas for a little while and see which one of these people doesn't look like a dumpster fire at the age of 50.
It should be pretty easy,
go to
right?
their person.
Like, don't go to Tijuana. That's like okay, so Tijuana's out, and then everyone else is in. You just figure it out. Yelp it, figure it out, and go do what you got to do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What else, Funkhauser?
Pictures have surfaced of Lamar Odom and the Kardashian clan attending Easter church services.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yep. They all wore white and fooled no one.
Why are we consumed by this?
Oh, here we go.
Why?
Why?
I mean, I get the proverbial why, but why?
Yeah, why are you talking about me?
That's crazy. I mean, this dude was just in a bar. They have pictures of him in a bar. Like, drinking, don't they?
Yeah, but it's not that you don't have the divine paradox of them at church. And like, we have a bunch of these pictures up on one of the radio station websites that I was leafing through the other day, like the Kardashians and Lamar Odom at an Easter service in church. Unfortunately, a photographer did not capture the fun moment when all of them spontaneously burst into flames. But I was looking for it, didn't see it. But I think that's why. It's the paradox of, like, surely they're going to be smote at some point.
Their life has been funded by just the pure evil, and they're hanging out in a church, like, to throw people off. That's what they're going to do. Okay,
like I said, I will call it the divine paradox.
I like
and
that.
Also, like, here's the thing. Like, one thing I've realized about when I was in a band, when I was in a band, we had this one guy that was just always a problem, and we couldn't wait to get rid of him. And eventually, the fateful day came where he just pushed us all too far, and we're like, you, done. No, thank you, no how. And what we realized after he left is, like, we didn't have anything to rail against. We didn't have any common enemy. We didn't have anything to blame our collective problems on. And it created sort of like this vacuum where we had to deal with our own crap.
And people don't like each other now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like people don't like to do that. You need a bad guy now in this day and age where you got to be super careful about not hurting anyone's feelings, about not doing anything that offends anyone.
Why is that, AD, by the way? You're in radio. This whole PC thing, it's brutal. Keep going with your thought, but
I'll tell you why. And the thing is, the reason radio has gotten so touchy-feely and sensitive is because, first and foremost, it's cyclical. If you look at it, like the shock jocks, like they come around people that are going to be vulgar, obscene, shock jockey, whatever you want to call them. Look, even Howard Stern is a kindler, gentler Howard Stern. Mm-hmm. Part of that has to do with his advancing years, I think. Part of that has to do with the fact that he's more okay with himself now than he was 15, 20 years ago. And part of the fact of it has to do, he's confident. And because he doesn't have to do all the attention-grabbing stuff, he is producing the best radio of his life.
I agree. So you're saying insecurity is dissipated where he can actually do what he does really well. Right.
Well, all right. So this is really inside baseball, but there's a couple of things. One, it's cyclical. It really is, and you can track this, and studies have tracked this. There's times where people want to be angry with someone on the air, and there's times when they want to feel compassion coming through the speakers. And there's about a 15, 20-year cycle on that stuff. I'm not even joking. There's studies on it. The other thing about it is, the other very interesting aspect of it is, radio ratings now are decided by these things called personal people meters, which are a much more accurate way of getting radio ratings. People carry these things around on their belt. They pick up frequencies of what radio station you listen to. You go into a store and hey, this radio station's on in the background, and there you go. That counts as a rating. In the past, they had these things called diaries, where people would write down at the end of the day the radio station that they listened to. And you don't remember all that stuff, or you don't notice all that stuff. So shock jocks would do anything to be memorable. Like, hey, Man Cow, back in the 90s, getting a guy who had half of his head removed because of cancer, pouring beer into his eye socket. That was something that everyone that had a diary was going to write down. So it was going to score huge in the ratings because you remember that stuff. And now the whole idea of being memorable as a shock jock is not necessary to win anymore. And on the one hand, it's great because people aren't doing extraneous, stupid stuff. On the other hand, it sucked a lot of the creativity out of it. But that's why we're at that place. And the other thing about Kardashians is they're kind of like Nazis in a Quentin Tarantino movie. Quentin Tarantino needs a person that it's okay to viciously slaughter left, right, and center. They might be racists in Django Unchained, or they might be Nazis in Inglourious Bastards. But you need someone who is a bad guy that will never be questioned.
Let me ask you this. So I get what you're saying. I completely agree. But at the same time, there are more people that are not, I'm not going to just flat out say ignorant, but there are people that look at these people as role models. They have, that's what's crazy is there's people talking like them and acting like them and trying to be like them. I don't see many people acting like Nazis outwardly. That's the only thing I'm saying is I think there's a lot more people that are like actual fans and taking them seriously than there should be. That's, I guess, what I'm saying.
From our perspective, it's good to have a common enemy that no one's going to be mad when you beat up on.
Of course, yeah.
Because they are truly terrible, awful people. They're sent to Earth by Satan to ruin everything for all of us, and they must be stopped. Now, the thing about people that want to be them is like it's those pills that you see ads in the margins of whatever interweb thing that you're on that go like, hey, Flabby, wouldn't you love to have six-pack abs without having to work at it whatsoever? Well, just take this, and tomorrow morning you're going to be ripped-toned, shredded super athlete ready to take on the world. And that's appealing. And like clearly they don't work, and clearly they're a hoax, but clearly they continue to sell by the billions. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the idea of a quick fix that brings you everything you want is attractive. And the Kardashians got famous for doing nothing. And it's just like people going, ooh, I can show my ass on Instagram. I can make a sex tape and I can be famous for doing nothing like the Kardashians. I think that's why they have their fans. Look, you deal with a lot of Instagram models on your podcast. That's the other thing we forgot. Where can people listen to your podcast?
It's on Podomatic and iTunes. You just search. It's also on the website, joshaccardo.com. You can click on that, and it'll take you for free to the show. Check it out.
So you have Instagram
free. I have
models
money, like that kind of money.
It's not going to be free for much longer. I'm actually very highly in demand after this appearance.
We're done?
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about the guy that got hijacked and took a selfie with a hijacker.
Tomorrow.
Well, let me bottom line this for you. There was a guy that was hijacked. He took a selfie with his hijacker. The end. Thank you so much for coming in, Josh Accardo.
Thanks for having me, man.
Anytime you are in Los Angeles, please come by. Go see him do stand-up. Watch his web show, Dating on Set, and check him out online at joshaccardo.com. Thank you so much, dude.
Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you, AD.
Times you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes you feel good about yourself for being the better person and doing that. Well, this is not one of those times. I don't think you realize what's on my mind. I've been too nice for way too long. I think I want you to know just what is going on. So bite me, you're a bag of suck. Every second I'm around you, I put down some bad luck. And knowing you just sucks every day. And I wish I could find a way to make you go away. So